Welcome to Secret Story. I met Joe and his wife at a bar that I used to go to. They would come in once a week for dinner and drinks, and we got to know each other over time and became friends. I was in my mid-20s at the time. Joe was 37 and Linda, his wife, was 39. We liked a lot of the same kinds of movies and music, so we always had a lot to talk about. Joe was very well educated and came off kind of snooty if you didn't know him. Linda was very bubbly and always friendly. Linda stands about 5 feet, 3 inches tall, with shoulder length, bright red hair, and very pretty. It seemed when I was around she would manage to bend over a lot. Needless to say. About a year after we met, a bunch of friends from the bar were at a party hosted by Joe and Linda. It was in the summer and we were all outside in their backyard. Some people were in the pool, but most of us were just talking, drinking and enjoying the summer evening. Linda had suggested that she and I go inside to mix a batch of drinks. I didn't think anything about it, so I followed her into the house. When we got inside, we started up the stairs towards the kitchen. I was intently watching Linda's when she turned around and said to me in a quiet voice, "I really like how you look at me. You know, Joe hardly pays attention to me and we practically never. And when we do, it's always quick and very vanilla." I wasn't sure what to say, so I said, "That's a real shame. If I were Joe, we'd never leave the house." Linda smiled at me and told me, "You are so sweet." Then she leaned over and kissed me right there on the stairs that I told her how beautiful they were, and she quickly, "That's not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this, it was so hot." I wanted to do more, but she said it was too risky for now. We went back outside and soon after I left for the night, Linda called me the next morning. She told me that Joe had to go to Florida next weekend to help his mother with some things, and Linda suggested that we take advantage of the weekend to explore each other some more. Joe had booked an early morning flight to Florida for Friday. So Linda suggested that I stop by the house on my way to work Friday morning so that we could figure out what we wanted to do for the weekend. That it seemed like the days dragged on, but finally it was Friday morning. I left my place around 7, picked up 2 coffees from Dunkin' and parked in Linda's driveway. I only had less than an hour before I needed to leave for work, so I thought we'd just figure out our plans. Linda had something slightly different in mind. She took the coffees from me and I followed her into their family room. She sat on the couch and motioned for me to stand in front of her. She said, "I want to give you something to think about today. I hope that you'll want to get out of work early to start the weekend." We drank our coffee and made some rough plans, dinner in, then watch a movie on cable. We decided that we couldn't really be seen out together locally, especially without Joe, since we didn't want to raise any suspicions that I went to work and the day dragged on. I was able to finally leave work a little before 5 and was back at Linda's around a quarter after. She was dressed for easy access. She told me to head upstairs and to freshen up. I showered and changed into a new pair of jeans and a t-shirt while Linda cooked up a delicious steak dinner for us. We went through 2 bottles of red wine with dinner and were both pretty buzzed. I helped her with the dishes, copping an occasional feel. At around 7 p.m. we settled down on the couch, and Linda opened another bottle of wine. I will never forget the movie that we watched, mostly because I would never have picked something like it. She put on The Birdcage, with Robin Williams. I remember that the movie was better than I thought it would be, and we drank and snuggled through the movie. When it ended, Linda suggested that we move the party upstairs, so being a good guest, I followed her lead that we went up to the master bedroom. I had never been in the upstairs of their house, other than to shower in the main bath. Linda excused herself to get more comfortable. Her pale skin and red hair were a perfect contrast. Linda smiled and got on the bed. I wasted no time spent. Linda collapsed on the bed and I pulled out and lay down next to her. And we both dozed off into a well-deserved sleep. This was just the start of the weekend. As I slept, I ended up dreaming. At first I thought I was dreaming, but then I woke up and realized that Linda was. She smiled at me and said, "I'm going to make some coffee, take a shower and meet me downstairs." It turns out that Linda had showered before I woke up and she was wearing a knee-length t-shirt. It was a nice spring morning, so we went out to the back patio by the pool and enjoyed our breakfast and coffee. After we ate, I did the dishes and Linda went upstairs. She called for me to come upstairs as I finished the dishes. And I made my way up the stairs. She said, "I have a present for you," and she pointed to a brown paper bag next to the bed. Linda was a very obedient slut and did as she was told. That I woke up as I heard the bathroom door closing. Linda must have woken up to shower. I looked at the clock next to the bed, it was almost 2 in the afternoon. We really tired each other out. I heard the shower turn on and Linda was in there for a while. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in just a towel, her red hair still wet and in contrast to her pale skin. She suggested that I take a shower and that she'd have a surprise for me when I got out. I wasted no time. The hot water felt great against my skin and it felt good to feel nice and fresh. I toweled off and came out of the bathroom to see Linda lying in the middle of the bed. She had an evil grin on her face and asked me, "Are you ready for your surprise?" I said, "Yes," and with that, she threw the sheet off of her. I practically jumped on the bed after we showered and dressed. I offered to take Linda out for dinner. She was concerned about being seen locally, so we drove a little over an hour into Pennsylvania, where I found a really nice restaurant. Thankfully, this trip was the break we needed. The ride, the restaurant and the ride back was pleasant and I was happy for the break. When we got back to Linda's house, we popped a couple of beers and went out by the pool. The evening was warm and we were just enjoying our beers, watching the stars. It was a great evening. She excused herself to use the bathroom and I wasted no time getting undressed. We did clean up a little while later and we fell asleep in each other's arms. She kissed me deeply and said, "I'm really looking forward to Joe going to see his mom in Florida again." I was looking forward to it as well. Joe did go to Florida several times and I would spend those days at their house. Linda. We would get together when we could, but it wasn't enough for either of us. Joe and Linda ended up moving to Virginia a few years later. They're now divorced and Linda is living somewhere in the Midwest. I miss her, she was a lot of fun.